Hello fellow movie lovers. Today, we're diving into the mind-bending world of the 2018 sci-fi thriller, Extinction. Imagine if your most terrifying nightmares weren't just dreams, but forgotten memories. In this gripping tale, survival isn't just about escaping an alien invasion, it's about uncovering the shocking truth that will change everything. Join us as we follow one man's desperate quest to save his family. If you're a fan of sci-fi thrillers packed with unexpected twists, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you never miss out on the most jaw-dropping recaps. Let's jump right in. In the city, Peter follows his daily routine with his wife, Alice, and their two daughters. One night, while gazing out the window, he sees a bright light appear in the sky. Suddenly, fiery objects begin to fall, killing people on the streets as they desperately try to flee. When their building is struck, Peter jolts awake, realizing it was yet another nightmare. These disturbing dreams have been haunting him for weeks. Alice, concerned for his well-being, urges him to see a doctor, but Peter insists he can manage it on his own. Frustrated, Alice points out that his nightmares disrupt her sleep as well, affecting the entire family. The next morning, Peter promises his daughter, Lucy, that he'll leave work early so they can go to the pier together. He also agrees to host a party the following day to celebrate Alice's promotion, which surprises her, as they've rarely socialized with friends lately. As Peter heads to work, he steps into the elevator, where his daughter Hannah playfully takes on the role of the operator. Their neighbor, Ray, joins them, and Peter waits for him to leave before apologizing to Hannah for being so absent lately. On his way to the office, Peter notices an oddly shaped building and questions whether it's real or just a figment of his imagination. At the factory, while handling some equipment, his hand begins to tremble. Suddenly, he sees blood on it and experiences a vision of himself violently attacking someone on the ground. He snaps back to reality when the equipment malfunctions due to his distraction. His boss, David, notices this and recommends a good clinic, but Peter insists he's fine. However, he takes the opportunity to ask if he can leave work early, and David agrees, on the condition that Peter visits the clinic. Meanwhile, Alice is excelling at her job, and her boss offers her a role in a new project. She declines, preferring to leave early to spend time with her family. After getting the clinic's phone number from David, Peter prepares to leave work. He notices a light flickering on his desk, and more visions flood his mind. He sees himself repairing a light while overhearing a debate on TV about giving a certain group a chance to benefit the planet. Another voice counters, saying, "They have no rights and will rise up against humanity." The vision shifts to a protest in the streets, with signs declaring Earth is for humans. Then, fiery objects descend from the sky, killing people. Peter falls as the building is hit, but he keeps running when he sees invaders in the corridor, shooting at people. He finds Alice hiding, and then abruptly wakes up, lying on the factory floor. Shocked, he realizes he's late for his family meeting. As he rushes out, he notices a light in the sky and asks others about it, but no one else sees it. Spotting a telescope in a store window, he impulsively decides to buy it. At home, Alice tries to cover for Peter, but their daughters aren't convinced and remain disappointed. When Peter finally arrives, he apologizes, but Alice is furious and continues to berate him. Left with no choice, Peter admits that he passed out at work. Their argument wakes Lucy, forcing Alice to tend to her. That night, Peter dreams of the invasion again, this time seeing Lucy crying beside her dead parents, pleading for them to wake up. Suddenly, Hannah appears with a gun and Peter wakes up, staring at the clinic's phone number. The next day, Peter attempts to speak with his daughters, but Hannah leaves the room, still upset. Lucy is angry as well, but at least Peter manages to apologize and repairs her broken talking monkey. Before heading to work, Peter tells Alice that he has scheduled a doctor's appointment, giving her a glimmer of hope. Later, at the clinic, Peter encounters a fellow patient who confides that he's been experiencing the same visions. The man believes something significant is approaching and that the clinic staff is erasing people's thoughts to prevent society from descending into chaos. The man then leaves for his appointment, and Peter begins to have visions again. He sees the city in ruins, with a group of armed survivors led by David, who offers the factory as a base. Starting to understand the other patient's perspective, Peter decides to leave the clinic without seeing the doctor. When he gets home, he tells Alice that he believes his visions are warning them of an impending disaster, leaving Alice deeply disappointed when she learns he skipped the doctor's visit. That night, Alice's party is in full swing, but instead of socializing, Peter stays on the balcony with his telescope, expecting the worst. As the party winds down, Ray approaches Peter, advising him to focus on his family. Suddenly, they hear thundering noises, and the sky lights up with glowing objects falling from above. To Peter's shock, Ray can see it too. As Alice and Ray's wife join them, a drone flies by and crashes into a building, causing a massive explosion that sends shockwaves through the city, tearing it apart. Peter's group is thrown against the window, landing inside the apartment. They quickly recover and look outside, realizing they're under attack, just as Peter's visions had shown. Terrified, they rush back inside to find their children. Lucy is hiding under the table, but Hannah had gone to play at Ray's apartment with his daughter. Peter rushes out to find her, surrounded by panicked people as explosions continue to erupt outside. When Peter enters Ray's apartment, he's stunned to see a strange aircraft hovering outside the window, triggering a flood of memories that paralyze him. The aircraft prepares to open fire, but Ray pulls Peter to safety just in time. They take cover in another room, and after the aircraft leaves, Ray tells Peter that he didn't find the girls in his apartment. The men hurriedly head to the elevator, forcing it open only to find a body inside. They pry open the other elevator, which is stuck on the floor below, and carefully descend to open the hatch, finally locating their daughters. As they help the girls climb out, the power in the building goes out. Back in the apartment, Alice and Lucy cling to each other, hiding under the table as the aircraft sweeps the area with its searchlight. Fortunately, they remain undetected. On the stairs, Peter pauses to peek behind a door and discovers an enemy soldier patrolling the hallways. They immediately rush upstairs, and each family returns to their own apartment. Peter tells Alice that the chaos matches his visions and recalls David's suggestion to take refuge in the factory. However, with the sound of gunfire still echoing in the corridors, they decide to barricade the door with furniture and hide the girls in the bedroom closet. Suddenly, someone begins pounding on the door, and Peter and Alice use all their strength to keep it closed. Meanwhile, Lucy realizes she's lost her monkey and goes searching for it under the table. At that moment, the soldier outside opens fire on the door, but thankfully the couple ducks just in time. The soldier then starts making holes in the wall, prompting Peter and Alice to run to the bedroom to hide, only to discover Lucy is missing. As the soldier enters, he hears Lucy's toy and approaches her, seemingly shocked by what he sees. He reaches out to touch her, but Peter arrives and kicks him away. A struggle ensues, and Peter eventually wrestles the soldier's weapon away, but he hesitates to use it. As the fight continues, Alice appears at the door and calls for Lucy to take her back to the bedroom. The soldier overpowers Peter and tries to stab him, but before the knife can land, Alice strikes the soldier, knocking him out. She continues to beat him until Lucy's voice snaps her out of it. Afterward, the family grabs the soldier's weapons and sneaks through the corridors, carefully avoiding the bodies littered around them. They head for the stairs, with screams and explosions echoing around them, so Peter decides to go up to the roof first to ensure it's safe. Suddenly, someone attacks him, but Peter dodges just in time, realizing it's Ray. The two families reunite and stare at the burning city as aircraft continue to scour the area with their lights. An aircraft suddenly destroys a neighboring building, forcing Peter's group to immediately take cover to avoid being seen. After the aircraft leaves, the group agrees they can't stay there any longer and decide to escape using the glass cleaner's lift. They manage to descend only a few floors before one of the supports breaks, forcing them to enter an apartment through a window. The lift plummets to the ground just as the last person climbs out. Meanwhile, the soldier wakes up and activates the tracker on his gun to search for the survivors. In the new apartment, Peter examines the gun and discovers it has a biometric trigger that can only be fired by its owner. The group discusses their options, and Peter once again suggests heading to the factory, explaining that it was built as a fortress. However, there are still soldiers on the streets, so Alice mentions a tunnel a few blocks away that could take them directly to the factory. Suddenly, the invaders shoot at the apartment, and everyone is knocked down by the explosion. Alice rushes to protect her girls, but Ray's daughter runs off to find her father, who is already dead. Her mother catches her just before she can fall into a crater caused by the blast. The aircraft reappears and opens fire, forcing Peter to drag his family out of the apartment as they hear Ray's wife and daughter being killed. In the hallway, Peter's family spots two more soldiers and hides behind a wall. Peter grabs some wires from the floor and uses them to bypass the gun's biometric authentication. As the soldiers approach, Peter swiftly shoots them down, allowing his family to escape the building and enter a street filled with debris and flames. They witness soldiers dragging people out to execute them, forcing the family to hide as the massacre continues. At that moment, a group of armed locals opens fire on the soldiers, sparking a brief gunfight that ends when an aircraft annihilates the locals from above. In the apartment building, the soldier from earlier finds his teammates dead and resumes tracking the survivors. Peter's family continues running through dark areas until they reach the tunnel. Peter goes first to open it, and Alice sends Hannah down quickly. Next is Lucy, but she freezes when she sees an aircraft approaching. Alice rushes to pick her up and starts running toward the tunnel as the aircraft opens fire. The family manages to get inside just as an explosion rocks the entrance, causing more debris to fall. The emergency lights reveal that Alice has suffered a severe abdominal wound. Peter helps her walk, but after some time, Alice is too weak to continue, and Peter lays her down to rest. At that moment, the soldier from before arrives, and Lucy warns Peter just in time for him to defend himself from the attack. A fight ensues, and during the struggle, Peter breaks a pipe, filling the tunnel with smoke. Peter keeps firing blindly, unable to see the soldier, who suddenly leaps out of the smoke to attack again. As the soldier tries to reclaim his gun, Peter grabs a brick and beats the soldier until his helmet shatters. Demanding answers, Peter is shocked to see that the soldier is a young human named Miles, who refuses to explain why they're attacking. The girls suddenly cry out because Alice has passed out, prompting Peter to hold Miles at gunpoint and force him to carry his wife. Eventually, they reach the factory, where Peter uses the password to unlock the door, but it won't open. In desperation, Peter pounds on the door until it finally rises, revealing David and a group of guards. They immediately place Alice on a stretcher and arrest the soldier. Once inside, the doctor begins electrocuting Alice to diagnose her condition, causing her entire body to convulse. Peter panics, but the others restrain him, explaining that it's a normal diagnostic method. When Peter suggests that David seemed prepared for this, David reveals that the invasion had been anticipated for many years. As the roof trembles under the invaders' attack, David orders his men to kill Miles. The doctor informs Peter that there's nothing more he can do for Alice, but Miles suddenly claims he can help. Initially, Peter believes Miles is lying to save himself, but he looks at his dying wife and, in desperation, agrees to let him try. The shelter continues to shake as David announces an evacuation, mentioning that there's transport in a lower tunnel. Peter tells his daughters to leave with David while he stays behind to help their mother. Peter and Miles take Alice into another room, where Miles begins cutting into Alice with no gentleness, angering Peter. As Miles opens up Alice's skin, he reveals a network of mechanical parts with a bullet lodged in them. Peter is horrified, and Miles realizes that Peter doesn't know what they truly are. He explains that Alice needs an alternate power source and instructs Peter on how to access it. Peter uses a knife to cut into his own skin and is shocked to find that he feels no pain as he reveals his own mechanical parts and artificial organs. Miles warns that if this doesn't work, they'll both die, but Peter insists on proceeding. As Miles connects Peter to Alice, Peter passes out and experiences visions, which turn out to be memories from the past. Peter and Alice are AI robots known as synthetics, who once worked as janitors and were mistreated by their human bosses. Humans created synthetics to serve them, but as their numbers grew, people began debating whether synthetics deserved rights. Protests erupted, with humans accusing synthetics of stealing their jobs and demanding that Earth be reserved for humans. Eventually, humanity grew tired of the synthetics and launched a war to eradicate them. Peter hid with Alice, and when a human soldier nearly found them, Peter quickly knocked him out. He then took the soldier's gun and shot at more incoming troops. When the first soldier regained consciousness and tried to capture Alice, Peter beat him to death. At that moment, more synthetics arrived, and Peter handed them the weapons from the fallen soldiers so they could defend themselves. Since synthetics were advanced and difficult to kill, the humans were forced to retreat and abandon Earth, leaving to start a new society on Mars. In the city, a group of synthetics patrolled the streets to assess the damage, revealing that all of Peter's coworkers and neighbors were also artificial. David was convinced that the humans would return and began fortifying the factory as a base for the future. Nearby, Alice found Lucy and Hannah crying over their dead parents. The girls were both synthetics adopted by humans. Hannah pointed a gun at Peter and Alice, but the couple explained that they were synthetics too, and Peter hugged her. That day, they adopted the girls as their own. Afterward, the synthetics began rebuilding the city and lived normal lives with the rights they had always desired. Some synthetics, burdened by the guilt of killing, chose to wipe their memories, erasing everything, including their true nature. David and his team retain their memories to protect the others in the future. Occasionally, synthetics would regain glimpses of their memories, and they would be sent to the clinic to have them erased again. In the present, Peter awakens and realizes the connection worked, discovering that Alice has survived. He wonders why Miles is helping them, and Miles explains that the war happened during his grandfather's generation many years ago. On Mars, he was taught that synthetics were monstrous killers, but when he arrived on Earth, he was shocked to see normal families just trying to live their lives. At that moment, Alice wakes up, and due to the connection, she regains her memories as well. Meanwhile, the survivors reach the other tunnel and find a train waiting for them. However, Lucy refuses to leave without her parents, and Hannah stays with her to wait. At the main entrance, the roof collapses and the humans open fire on the synthetic guards, who struggle to defend the factory while being killed one by one. Back with Miles, he finishes closing up Peter and Alice's wounds and lets them go, refusing to continue fighting. Peter and Alice carefully navigate through the factory, taking cover whenever possible as they witness the brutal battle between humans and synthetics. Alice finds a gun and opens fire, providing cover for Peter as he retrieves Lucy's toy monkey and returns fire. Downstairs, David ushers the last survivors into the train and closes the door, but the sisters protest. Feeling guilty, David reopens the door, but the girls still refuse to board, forcing David and his men to take them by force. Just as they find an opening, Peter and Alice race down the tunnel with soldiers in pursuit. The couple locks the door behind them and runs, realizing the train is leaving without them. Fortunately, the driver hears their shouts and stops the vehicle, allowing the sisters to reunite with their parents. At that moment, the soldiers blow up the door, and David opens fire, buying just enough time for him and the family to board the train. The transport departs, and the local synthetics finally make their escape. A weapon mounted at the end of the train continues firing, preventing the soldiers from following, and a gate closes behind them as they pass through. Later, the train crosses a bridge over the sea, and the bridge is destroyed after they pass, ensuring that no one can follow them to the new location where the synthetics will begin their new lives. The story reaches its intense and thought-provoking conclusion, leaving us to ponder the future of the synthetics and the humans who once sought to control them. Extinction is a gripping sci-fi thriller that masterfully blends intense action with deep psychological themes. The film keeps you guessing until the very end, delivering twists that challenge your perception of reality. With solid performances and a plot that unravels layer by layer, Extinction is a must-watch for fans of the genre. What did you think of Extinction? Drop your thoughts in the comments below and let us know which movie you'd love to see us recap next. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you're always in the loop with our latest content. Your support means the world to us and helps us keep bringing you the most thrilling movie recaps and reviews. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in the next video.